Shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine. Hello, hello, it's Nancy Maddox with Shine Your Light Radio Ministry on WYTV7 from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, and my guest today, my very special guest today, is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm excited to have this interview today with Miss Sharon Yost. She is really a professional, and we're going to learn a lot today about what we need to do to make our credit and our lives better. So without further ado, well, let me say one thing first. I'm sorry. I want to talk about WYTV7 is a nonprofit. We do accept donations, and the donations go toward promoting our broadcasters and everything that all of our broadcasters do. So I'm really excited about that. If you'd like to plant a seed, that would be wonderful. At WYTV7, the Christian Broadcasting Network, what we say is if we reach one, then we've done our job. So I'm really excited about that. Without further ado, let's talk a little bit about Miss Sharon Yost. Miss Sharon Yost is a personal finance success coach, credit restoration and tax preparer, as well as a credit and tax coach. She's a finance service executive and has created her own business and founded her own business called NBC Solutions, which means Simple Basic Credit Solutions. So I'm really excited to have this most knowledgeable young lady on our interview today. We're going to go through a few things, some of the advice that she offers to her clients, and that will help you through many situations. And in this day and time, your credit is very important to help save you money and to just really to build your self-confidence and your self-esteem, because so much has happened throughout the years, and declines on credit really will erode your confidence. So without further ado, let's get started. Miss Sharon, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in this particular business.
Bill, of course, my name is Sharon Yost. I actually got started in this business with it was about 1998 when my credit went to go purchase my first home, and I had a 26-page credit report at the age of 20 and never bought anything but cash. My cars was by cash, or my parents purchased everything for me. So needless to say, the mortgager did not call me. They called my mom to call me into the office to let me know that I had 2 repos, 3 foreclosures, and 22 max credit cards maxed out. And I also was an RN. Well, it turned out back in that time it was a mistaken identity. So, of course, I got my home. My mom and my dad purchased our home, but I wanted to become an advocate and just learn how to correct my credit, because my parents could have paid for the lawyers, we could have pressed charges, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to learn how to do it. So I took it upon myself to learn everything about the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And they was really helpful back then. They're not as helpful now as it was then. And I just learned the law and how to use actually the Bible as well as the federal and state laws, because the federal and state laws are based by the Bible when it comes to credit restoration. So I moved forward. I cleaned my credit up, moved forward with that, and started helping friends and family. So at the time, my parents was like, "You doing so much, why not make it a business?" And at that time, I did have 2 sons. I was married, had 2 sons at the time. And so what a way to be a stay-at-home mom and make money. So I turned it into a business. So I've been doing it for about 26 years. As a matter of fact, this month, 26 years.
Wow, that is really surprising. I had no idea as I was requesting you for an interview on Shine Your Light radio ministry. I also have a finance background. I was the CEO of a credit union in Jacksonville, Florida for 25 years. So I know an awful lot about credit. I know an awful lot about how it ruins people's lives. And also, you were 20 years old when you tried to buy your first house and you had all this stuff on your credit. There's absolutely no way that it could be yours. And I had a very similar a very similar experience when we tried to buy our first house. My husband and I, we've been married 45 years, so this would have been 45 years ago when we first tried to buy our first house. We were young and inexperienced. We both had jobs, but we were making money. Didn't have any credit though. We too paid cash for our car, things like that. And when we applied for our mortgage, they turned us down because they said we have too much good credit and they don't know how we're paying for our credit. I'm like, well, we don't have any credit. And this was before I knew. And what happened is my husband's name, and he is the third, and my father-in-law is Junior, and they mixed my father-in-law's credit, a 55 years worth of credit, beautiful credit, 800 credit score. They mixed ours and theirs up, and they turned us down because they said we couldn't afford to have good credit. How could we afford to pay all those bills? And I'm like, we don't have any bills. So ours was a little bit opposite, but it happens all the time. And this is an ongoing issue. And as a matter of fact, I think it's even worse now with electronics like it is, because creditors and identity theft and all of that, they just add to the credit. They add to your credit score and your credit file, and they don't even check things out. So I think it's horrible. So I'm real excited to have you on today to talk about this and talk about how there is hope at the end of the tunnel for people. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but it is a process, and you're there to help them with this process. And I'm also intrigued, Miss Sharon, because you're connecting all of this to the Bible. I haven't ever heard that before in my 45 years experience in finance. I've never heard it being connected back to the Bible like you do. Of course, the credit union was always a not-for-profit and a people helping people place. So I fully understand that my faith had a lot to do with my success in the Bible and also with the credit union. But to have it tied to the book of life to restore your credit is something I've never heard before. So I'm really excited to get into this. Okay, can you kind of tell us a little bit about really what you want to talk to, how you tie the book of life, the Bible, to restoring your credit? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that and elaborate on that for us?
Actually, it's simple. First, I will say I do not know, I am transparent, and I do not actually know the scripture that is in because I've been doing it so long, and I actually forgot. I just apply it like my mom would tell me, and I would just apply it and keep it moving. That's what I would really do. But I do know it's in Deuteronomy where it talks about the creditor. And if we know that the credit is 7 years, every 7 years, our credit is actually removed. We can remove our credit after 7 years. The creditors can no longer come after you for a debt because it has reached its statute of limitation. So in learning the law, I took the scripture in Deuteronomy and applied it to my disputing. And when I applied just in that book, it's just in that book really about creditors. If it's somewhere else, I don't really know. I just stuck with Deuteronomy and dealing with the seven years. Everything is based around the 7 years. But because it's based around 7 years, we actually have versus the different states how a credit card can only be collected after 3 years. After 3 years, the statute of limitations is up. But it can be reported on your credit report for 7 years. But you don't have to pay after 3 if you catch it and actually dispute it. So you take the 7 years and then you just learn the law, and that's how I really applied the Bible to it per se. Like I said, I've been doing it so long, it's natural. It's a God-given gift, and that's why I don't really quote scripture. I just know it and memorize it and place that into the success of my business of credit restoration.
Well, I'm really a little overwhelmed at what you're telling us, because I honestly have never heard of tying that back to the Bible, and I'm a very faithful person. I mean, I am a Bible reader, and I've been faithful all my life. But anyway, it kind of excites me a little bit to hear you talk like that. And of course, that's why you're a success, is because God is in your life as He is in mine. Most successful people do have God in their life, and that's why we become so successful, because we let God be our leader. But on the 7 years, I mean, back on the 3 years on a credit card, and now we're going to get into a little bit of tedious language, and I really want people to hear this, because people are overwhelmed. I mean, people have just been so inundated with credit card flyers, credit cards given to them. This started happening in the 70s is when that really started happening, because what I found is, like in the 70s, they gave you all the credit you ever wanted, all the credit cards you ever wanted. You'd have a stack of them, and you could run them all up to the limit. And then what happened is, in the 80s, some regulations, there were no regulations to cover that kind of thing. So the credit card companies took advantage of you. They got you up to a $5,000 or a $10,000 limit, and then they cut your limit to $2,000 in the 80s and 90s, and then you had over limit fees every month. They did everything in their power to make you have more fees and more fees and more fees. So, and then I guess it was in the 90s, which was when regulations really started to pump up, and it started regulating a lot of this stuff with a lot of the creditors and the Consumer Protection Acts and things like that. So, but tell us a little bit more about what you were saying about the credit cards in 3 years.
Okay, so how it works is, in each state, we have our different laws concerning open-end accounts, which is really your credit cards. And if you know the statute of limitations for each state, then you know that majority of them are 3 years. I don't think there's too many of them that I have dealt with that's been less than 3 years, but no more than 4. I can't remember. I think it's California that may be 4 years when it comes to that. And that is the reason when we had the Credit Card Act to come into play. That was the reason for it, because mostly everybody's credit reports was dealt with credit cards, because as soon as you turn 18, that's all you was receiving, especially if you went to college, was you got a credit card, you pre-approved for a credit card, and of course, being young, we all did it. And but now it can still be on there. And so how I learned about it was, I tried it out with my mom on her credit report, and she allowed me to just dispute one of her credit cards. And she had it for like 5 years. She actually let it go into the negative state, and just to see how we could dispute it off. Well, what happened was, I was able to get it off based on knowing the law in North Carolina for 3 years for an opening credit card. And it was just that simple. So when it comes to credit cards, if it's over 3 years and it's been on your negative, I can remove it just like that, because it's just a matter of disputing based on the law. You have to use the actual statute of limitation. And it's just saying, in North Carolina, my credit card has been in collection for 3 years. Now it's time to remove. Just that simple. And the bureaus have to take it off. Can you hear you?
If you filed bankruptcy on those two and they were charged off, is it still 3 years where they have to take the negative off your credit report?
Now, when it is actually in the bankruptcy, you can remove them. They can be removed, but what will happen is, it will show on your credit report bankruptcy. Okay, it can come off. I do get them off in bankruptcy. I have. It's simpler to get it off when someone filed bankruptcy, because once it goes into bankruptcy, everything is taken care of. I sometimes suggest that I'm not a bankruptcy fan, so when they do go into bankruptcy, I'll tell them make sure that everything that's on your credit report is in the bankruptcy, because if it's not, it has to stay on there because it's accurate reporting. But
Oh,
in the
okay.
bankruptcy, that means it's accurate reporting, but it can be removed because bankruptcy is on there. Okay, because if you have bankruptcy plus that account, it's hitting you credit score wise twice versus just the bankruptcy. So it's easier to come off when it's in bankruptcy.
Okay, I got you. Okay. So, well, that's very interesting about the credit cards and the statute of limitations. So, and that's as it pertains to the negative on your report, your credit report, right?
Correct.
So you would be able to get that negative remark for the credit card off of your credit report, which will increase your credit score if you take it off, right?
No.
No. Okay.
Unfortunately, you could, let's just say, for example, I've had a credit card for 10 years, and that is a credit history. And let's say that it's in the negative and it's still on there because I didn't pay it. Well, if I go and I take that off and my next line of credit, it was just 2 years ago, that's going to decrease my score because I have taken away part of my history, even though it's negative. I've taken away part of my history though. And we have, I'm an advocate about, I call it the credit pie chart, because this credit pie chart is how you receive a FICO score. And a lot of us only know about having credit, and if it's in the negative, we're going to pay that off and get it removed from our credit report, or just pay it off in general. Well, unfortunately, if you pay it off and the bureaus, you dispute it and the bureaus remove it, that can harm you better than help you. A negative score can give you a 700. A negative account, adverse account can give you just as much a 700 score as well as having no adverse accounts and all of it satisfactory. And it's hard to understand that, but it's about the FICO pie. And we don't understand it. A lot of people don't understand it. So that's why I really talk about it more now than I have, because I have a lot of clients that's trying to purchase homes and they always saying, I don't have new credit. What's new credit? Or I haven't had credit long enough. I don't have a history. And then they'll tell me, well, I've been paying this off, and I just the other day had a lady to pay off her credit, and she actually went from a 625 to a 410 because she paid off her negative accounts, which was her history accounts.
Oh my word.
And she actually gave me permission. I got to get her to sign a waiver so I can actually use it, because I'm going to start using it on my Facebook and my advertisement, because a lot of people don't really understand that, because, you know, we always been taught you got to have good credit, that if you pay the negative off, that's how our credit gets, you know, to 700. But that's not true. That's not true at all.
Wow, that's very interesting, because you know we always think if we have a credit card and we pay it off, then we've done a good thing, but we've really, in a context, we've hurt our credit score because we've got zero out there. And I had always thought in my many years of finance that if you had capacity, that was one of the 3 C's of credit. You know, was capacity, which means if you had a limit and you didn't owe very much on it, or you owed nothing on it, that gave you more capacity. But what you're saying, that it negatively affects your credit score if you pay it off. So you should keep a little bit of a balance on all of your credit cards just to keep building your credit score, right?
That's right.
Okay. Wow. That is confusing.
You should have at least at the end, a lot of times, or let's just say, a lot of people do not realize that the credit card company actually score you twice. they score you when you know your payment, let's say your credit card payment is on the 15th. That is one that can get you anywhere between 3 to 10 points just paying it on time. But at the end of the month, around the 27th or the 28th, when they actually post it to the bureaus, is another score. So you actually get scored twice in the month if you pay on time and you at least have 30% utilization on your credit report when they post. So you can get a lot of points with credit cards, actually.
So with 30% utilization, what that means is, and you have to understand that I want people to hear this that are novices that do not understand the language of finance and credit. Okay. So 30% utilization means that you've paid your credit card down. Say if it's $100 limit, you've paid it down to $30. Is that what that means?
Yes.
So you've got that $70 that you can utilize to build your credit score.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, I got you. Okay, good. Good. Okay. So I know in some of the reading that I've read, you talk a little bit too about Hosea 4:6, which says, "My people are destroyed by lack of knowledge." So I want to go a little bit deeper into that, because really that's what Shine Your Light is all about. Shine Your Light Radio Ministry is to giving my clients and my viewers access to very intelligent and very experienced people like yourself to help them understand more about what they need to do to make their life better. And of course, if we improve our credit score, our life is going to automatically be better because our rates will be cheaper. You know, creditors will look at us, but in return, you're going to get more credit card offers and things like that. So it's Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed by lack of knowledge. So can you go into that a little bit more, Miss Sharon, about how you're going to how you use that? Because I do understand that, and I've thought that all my life, that knowledge is power. That's why I like to share with people.
Yes. I've always, since starting this and not knowing at the age of 20 what actually happened when me and my husband at the time was trying to get our house. If we would have known more, I think we would have, if we would have knew how to look at our credit and not really, we was young, depend on our parents, I probably wouldn't be in this position I am in now, right now. Because as a matter of fact, my mom was a banker. So one of the things that she did instill in me was just that part of it. And she was like, since you learned how to educate yourself, because I would like for people to know that I do not have any college education. My talent is by God-given gift and just sitting down and open up a book and reading. I read the law books, and I can compete with anyone because I chose to do that. So in doing that, I like to let people know that, you know, going to college is awesome. Yes, I do have some here and there classes, but a degree I do not have. And it does not take a degree to learn and educate yourself, because someone at the end of the day really had to educate themselves so we could learn from them. So I took the portion of just the anyone that comes in my presence would not be lacking of some kind of education, either about their credit or about their taxes or any other things that I do. And I make that my motivational biblical scripture every morning, that whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or a client coming into my office, before you leave my presence, you're going to learn one, if not two or three or four other things that you did not know before coming in my presence. And being able, and I would like for others to take what they learned from me and either research it, do their due diligence to make sure what I've said is correct, and then go out and give it to someone else. If we pass it along, no one will go lacking at all of something. You can never go lacking if we take a little bit and give it to the next person.
Absolutely. I love that spirit of giving. That's what I've done all my life, and I know that you're following right in my footsteps to do the same thing because it's so vitally important. I really want to talk, say a little bit, give a plug for WYTV7 here, the Christian Broadcasting Network in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are actually, we are a nonprofit, a 501c3, and we do take donations. And I want to clear with the audience that the donations are used to send our broadcasts for all of the broadcasters, including Shine Your Light Radio Ministry, out into the world. We want the world to hear these interviews that we're doing and to hear this information that we're sharing, because it's vitally important for everyone to hear that. We do broadcast internationally, and that's what the donations are used for. And at WYTV7, we say if we've reached one, we've done our job. So, and it sounds kind of like that's a little bit of your mantra too, Ms. Sharon. It's very exciting to hear from you and to hear you talk. Although this is not an exciting topic, it's exciting to me for people to be able to gain more knowledge and to be able to learn from people and learn that their credit and their taxes are both important, and that we have a professional that they have access to. So we're almost out of time, and what I'd like to do now is for you to do a little plug about your company and yourself and how people can reach you and really what services you offer, okay?
All righty. All right. My business is NBC Solutions LLC. I'm located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We actually specialize in credit restoration and tax preparation. I actually help on a personal level. You get me and only me in my office. I do have assistants and employees, but you actually talk to me, and we go over one-on-one all the time, and we give a plan and goals to what you are trying to achieve within a year. That's pretty much it. That's what we do. And we love everybody, and everybody is either a sister or brother, or if you're older than me, you're my mom or dad, and you get respect. We do respect.
Yes, I really appreciate that. And how can we reach you? Would you like to say anything about your contact, maybe your web page, or maybe that'd be the best way for them to reach you?
Okay, the best way to reach me is by phone. It's 336-934-5236, or you can email me at sharonyaus@yahoo.com. I do have a Facebook, and my Facebook is Sharon Lisa Yaus. It's just that simple. I keep things simple. And I do now have a Facebook page that my son's created, and it is Credit Rebuilding. We're working on our website, so but that's the best way to get me.
Okay. And fine. It's Sharon Yaus, Y-O-U-S-E.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone will know, and we'll be sure and post that on the broadcast. But I thank you so much for your information today. I want to have you on again, Ms. Sharon, because I want to go a little bit more in depth about people are so overwhelmed with doing all of this, and how you get started and what you should do, and really delve into the services that you offer, because I think it's vitally important, and people are looking for honesty and integrity when it comes to this. There's a lot of shysters out there doing credit repair and things like that, and I want to offer to my clients and to my viewers a God-fearing and an honest company that can handle this kind of stuff for people. So without further ado, I thank you so much for your time today, and I thank you so much for sharing with us. Again, it's Ms. Sharon Yaus in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with SBC Solutions, which means Simple Basic Credit Solutions. Thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light. Shine, shine, shine your light.